Before we start, I want you to imagine something. It's summer. It's hot. Your windows are open because there's no air conditioning. You hear something outside. You freeze. Then you tell yourself, it's probably nothing. In 1985, in Los Angeles, for dozens of families, it wasn't nothing. He didn't stalk specific people. He didn't follow a clear pattern. He didn't care who you were. He looked for opportunity. An unlocked door, a cracked window, a house in the dark. And once he was inside, he decided what happened next. They called him the Night Stalker. But his real name was Richard Ramirez. And for months, Los Angeles was afraid to sleep. Richard Ramirez was born in 1960 in El Paso, Texas. He wasn't born feared. He was a kid raised in instability. His father was violent. There were beatings. There was tension inside the home. But one of the biggest influences in his life was his cousin, Miguel. Miguel had returned from Vietnam. He showed Richard graphic photos from the war, told him stories about torture, about control, about domination. When Richard was 12 years old, he witnessed Miguel shoot his wife during an argument, right in front of him. That moment didn't instantly create a killer, but it changed how he saw violence. It removed the shock. As a teenager, Ramirez drifted. Drugs, isolation, petty crime, an obsession with the occult. He felt invisible. And over time, violence stopped being disturbing. It became empowering. The first confirmed killing linked to Richard Ramirez happened in 1984. An elderly woman named Jenny Vincow was found murdered in her Los Angeles apartment. At the time, it seemed like an isolated tragedy. No one knew it was the beginning, because serial killers rarely announce themselves. They begin quietly. Then, in March 1985, the attacks escalated. A man named Vincent Zazzara was shot in his sleep. His wife, Maxine, was killed in the same home. The attack was sudden, personal, chaotic. There was no clear motive, no robbery that made sense, just violence. Weeks later, another couple was attacked, then another woman, then another home. Each crime scene told a similar story. Entry at night, forced or unlocked windows, victims caught off guard in their own beds. But what confused investigators was this. The victims didn't share obvious similarities. They weren't all elderly, they weren't all wealthy, they weren't all in one neighborhood. Some lived in quiet suburbs, others in busier areas. He wasn't targeting a lifestyle, he was targeting vulnerability. The randomness. Most serial offenders follow patterns: age, location, specific preferences. Ramirez didn't. One night, an elderly widow. Another night, a young couple. Another night, someone barely in their 20s. There was no consistent victim type, and that randomness created something worse than fear. It created helplessness. Because you couldn't not fit the description. There wasn't one. The psychological control. In several attacks, Ramirez forced victims to swear allegiance to Satan. Not because he needed belief, but because he wanted control. He wanted to see fear. He wanted dominance. Sometimes he left survivors alive, which might sound merciful, but it wasn't. It meant they lived with the memory, the sound of footsteps in the hallway, the feeling of waking up and not understanding what was happening, the realization that someone had been inside their home. Some survivors later said what unsettled them most was how calm he seemed. Not frantic, not rushed, just present, as if he belonged there. By the summer of 1985, the attacks were happening faster, sometimes only days apart. News stations began connecting the cases. Police realized they weren't dealing with multiple offenders. They were dealing with one man, moving through Los Angeles at night, breaking into homes, leaving chaos behind him. In one case, a pentagram was drawn at the scene. That detail gave the media something visual, something symbolic. And once the press labeled him the Night Stalker, the story became bigger than the crimes. It became a nightmare. Los Angeles is massive, sprawling, dense, millions of people, and yet the entire city felt hunted. Phone lines were overwhelmed with tips. Police departments across counties struggled to coordinate. Remember, this was before modern databases, before instant digital sharing, before security cameras on every home. That delay gave him space, and space is what he needed. Each night he wasn't caught made him feel larger, and the city feel smaller. But eventually, small details started adding up. A shoe print, a fingerprint, witness descriptions, and one detail people couldn't forget: his teeth. Severely decayed, unusual, memorable. It was a small detail, but small details matter. Because in August 1985, he made a mistake. Ramirez left a fingerprint on a stolen car. Police ran it. It matched a petty criminal from Texas, Richard Ramirez. His face was released to the public, and everything changed. On August 31st, 1985, Ramirez walked into a convenience store in East Los Angeles. People recognized him immediately, from the newspaper, from the news. He ran, but this time, the community chased him. They didn't wait. They didn't hesitate. They caught him. By the time police arrived, the Night Stalker was on the ground, beaten, cornered, finished. After months of fear, it wasn't advanced technology that stopped him. It was people. His trial began in 1988. It lasted over a year. Inside the courtroom, Ramirez showed no remorse. He flashed a pentagram drawn on his palm. He shouted, "Hail Satan." Some women claimed they loved him. He even married one while on death row. He was convicted of 13 murders and numerous other crimes, sentenced to death. But he was never executed. In 2013, he died of cancer in prison. No dramatic ending, no spectacle, just a hospital bed inside a correctional facility. There's another disturbing part of this story, and it didn't happen in the streets. It happened in the courtroom. Despite everything he had done, despite the evidence, despite the brutality, some women were attracted to him. They attended his trial. They wrote him letters. They sent photos. They called him misunderstood. One woman even married him while he was on death row. How does that happen? How does someone convicted of multiple murders become an object of fascination? Part of it is something psychologists call hybristophilia. It's a term used to describe attraction to people who commit violent crimes. For some, it's about notoriety. For others, it's about control. There's a belief, often unconscious, that he would never hurt me, or that love could somehow redeem him. But there's another layer: the media. By the late 1980s, Ramirez wasn't just a criminal, he was a symbol. The long hair, the dark stare, the satanic imagery, the nickname, the Night Stalker. The coverage gave him a kind of myth, and myths can distort reality. When someone becomes larger than life, some people stop seeing the victims and start seeing the persona. But beneath the headlines, beneath the courtroom theatrics, was a man responsible for real suffering, real families, real loss, real trauma. Attraction doesn't erase that, and fascination doesn't justify it. And maybe that's one of the most unsettling parts of this case. Not just what he did, but how easily violence can turn into spectacle. It's easy to call him a monster, and in many ways, he was. But he wasn't supernatural. He wasn't invisible. He was human. A human being who chose violence, who fed on fear, who relied on randomness. The Night Stalker didn't just terrorize victims, he changed how people lived, how they slept, how they trusted, how they locked their doors. And somewhere right now, someone feels invisible. Someone feels angry. Someone feels disconnected. Most people never act on it, but history reminds us it only takes one. So tonight, when you turn off the lights, ask yourself, are we better at spotting danger now? Or are we just better at reacting after it's already inside? Sleep carefully.